Muy bien, tenemos con nosotros el profesor Mike Sullivan, que es vicepresidente de la Universidad Swansea University. Esto no nos diría nada si no fuese que esta universidad es una universidad dirigida por el profesor Davis, que es uno de los especialistas y más conocidos asesores en el tema de universidad y desarrollo económico y social. Entonces, el profesor Mike Sullivan es, además de haber sido alumno de Oxford y de la Universidad de Wales, ha sido asesor de políticas públicas y ha publicado en este ámbito en todo su trabajo científico, es decir, él se dedica al tema de las políticas públicas con la universidad como eje. Él ha sido vicepresidente en esta universidad, vice-chancellor y presidente también de la universidad y dirige en este momento la Oficina de Desarrollo Internacional de la propia universidad de la cual es creador, ¿no? Por tanto, creo que es una persona que nos puede, siendo un miembro de la universidad y a la vez una persona especialista en políticas públicas, nos puede ayudar a ver cómo hacemos este match que es esencial, porque ya lo hemos visto, finalmente los recursos de las universidades, especialmente las públicas, vienen de la administración, pero el marco jurídico está definido por la propia administración y finalmente los planos de desarrollo son también regionales, que es donde la universidad tiene mayormente su actuación. Por tanto, muchísimas gracias, profesor Sullivan.
Many thanks. I understand that the chair has let you into the secret that I had a misspent middle age, a break from being an academic social scientist to be the senior policy advisor to the then First Minister for Wales, particularly in relation to public policy. So I like to think that I have the advantage of having had a 360-degree view of the development of policies in this area as in others. However, whilst I'm verbally tap dancing here, I'm hoping that somebody is going to tell me how I can get my PowerPoint up on the screen. Can I say while that's happening that that I come from Swansea University. Swansea is the second city in Wales, in the southwest of the country. It is a research-intensive university sitting in the top 10% of research-intensive universities in the UK. Okay, and it's a university that was established in 1920 as the result of needs expressed by industry at that time. And although it is a full-service university with subjects from archaeology to zoology, it still has retained throughout those nearly 100 years a close relationship with that founding rationale. I'm afraid that I can't converse with you in the language of heaven, and I would therefore invite you that if there's anything that is unclear, I really don't mind being interrupted for flow. I've always been a mood presenter. I don't mind if you're frowning, I don't mind if you're smiling. But if you look bored, I'm really upset. I'm also, as well as upset, I'm a little embarrassed because 4 weeks ago when it was first mooted that I would replace our rector, Professor Richard B. Davis, who sent his greetings and his apologies for not being here. We have a government visitation at home. 4 weeks ago, of course, we were European siblings. Well, we still are European siblings. But there's been an activity, a phenomenon I thought I would not see, which is the United Kingdom as a whole, and all but one of the Celtic nations in the UK, signifying its wish to break that relationship as that relationship is represented by the European Union. I'm a irrepressible optimist, or I'm in denial. I do not actually believe that the political territory is such that that ultimately Brexit will occur, although we have to plan as if it's going to. And I take comfort from that New Testament parable about the prodigal son. The son who said to his father, give us your money, we don't want any more to do with you. That seems to me, I may be misrepresenting, that seems to me what the Brexiteers, what the are saying to Europe, we don't want anything to do with you, give us your money. I suspect that the European Union will not be as understanding as the father in the parable in relation to financial distribution. I very much hope that the United Kingdom, if it leaves, will, however, be welcomed back at some point. So I've pinned my flag to the mast, and having got my embarrassment off my chest, then let me tell you what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about a case study related to Swansea, which involved us building an additional campus within the city. Well, actually, not quite within the city. Swansea, as a university, had always prided itself in having a campus that was just over the road from the ocean. We've just built a second campus 4 miles away from the former one that goes one better, and it is actually on the ocean. And we were involved in looking to build a second campus for a number of reasons. First of all, the campus that we occupied, the first campus university in the UK, was too small for any expansion in student numbers, and the way in which higher education is now funded in the United Kingdom and in Wales means that in order to generate more income, one needs to take more students. We were confined by the campus that we had, and so we needed to look at building something new. And it also seemed a truism to us that you can't build half a campus. So we had an attack of the crazies. In 2003, 2004, the university appointed a new rector, a new chancellor, who brought with him a vision that most of his new colleagues thought would have been more comfortable in a mental asylum than in a university. We were heading towards a recession, and the vision was to expand, to build, to have a new campus. And that vision was refined, and planning was done over a couple of years. But that vision also had at its very heart the view that that Swansea should seek to make an impact in the community, in the region, in the nation, in the world around it. And it should do so by intervention in those real-world activities. So I want to talk about that case study, that story from inception to completion, and to draw out the rationales and the outcomes. So, our vision in 2016, where we are now, is to remain a research-led university of international quality. So we're in the Premier League, a bit like our football team in Swansea in the Premier League of UK universities. We wish to further develop our international reputation for research, for teaching, and for collaboration with industry. I have this rather, I sometimes think, silly title as of Vice President, particularly as we don't have a President, for strategic partnerships. And that basically is about strategically overseeing our global research partnerships. We have strategic partners throughout the world, a number in Spain, but also developing partnerships with civil society internationally and with commerce and industry. We are within the top 3% of the world's universities as measured by these proliferation of league tables. We love league tables and we hate them like you, I'm sure. Our aim when we love them is to be one of the top 2%. We want to equip students with personal and professional achievement. So we want to provide the leaders of industry, the researchers, the innovators, but we also think that the experience of university for them is one where we actually equip students for a good life, and to be a powerhouse of growth in the local and regional economy. Now, in traditional terms, that means that we wish to maintain the reputation that's represented in this slide in terms of our teaching quality. It means that we wish our customers, or one part of our customers, our students, to have a positive experience, and you see we've picked up a number of medals in that respect, and we want to maintain an impressive record on employability. So we sit 16th in the UK in a university community of about 240 universities in terms of graduate employment 6 months after graduation. So 81.4% of our graduates have graduate level employment within 6 months of graduation, and we want to build on what's been a steep upward trajectory in our research profile. So in the government's the UK government's 2014 audit of research quality in the UK, we moved into 23rd position out of 240, 20th on the measured impact. So leapfrogging 12 of the Russell Group universities. The Russell Group prides itself as being the elite university group in the UK, in doubling our volume in world-leading researchers since the audit prior to that in 2008, including a medical school which occupied first position for research in the UK. And we have 27 of the 31 research areas that have world-leading academics in the research framework exercise. But while celebrating that, what I want to talk to you about is productivity and the university's role in increasing productivity, and particularly in facilitating the growth of high-level, high-paid, high-skilled jobs, and pushing the boundaries of innovation and development ahead. Now, why talk about productivity? Why, as a university, talk about productivity? Well, productivity, we know, is critical for wealth creation in the long term. It's critical for intergenerational regeneration. And it's critical for us in Wales in order to be able to compete and to continue to compete in a global economy. And I'm sure these are your concerns as well. The Keynesian, or neo-Keynesian, probably more accurately, American economist Paul Krugman said, productivity isn't everything, but in the long run, it's almost everything. The OECD also argues that productivity is at the heart of sustainable and inclusive growth. If Wales can't compete, if Spain can't compete, if the United Kingdom can't compete, then we will become ever more marginalised in terms of competition in a global economy. And that means that we will move into a downward spiral. For Wales, as we'll see a little bit later, that's a particular concern because we recognised that in terms of the UK economy, Wales lagged behind the UK in any of the measures, including productivity, that you would want to use. And that South West Wales, where we are located, lagged behind Wales. And that over the recent period, the period from the 1970s through to where we are, that gap had widened rather than narrowed. So Wales lags behind the UK economy, South West Wales and Swansea lags behind Wales. One of the solutions that had traditionally been seen to universities intervening in industry and helping to develop a cutting edge and to increase productivity and to decrease inequities in economic growth and development was the science park model. And I'm sure you're as familiar as we are with that. You have the university over here, you have a science park over here. This is a model that was led by universities including Cambridge in 30 or 40 years ago, and what happened in both places was what you expected would happen over here in the university, both blue sky and applied research, teaching of students. Over here, the dirty business of testing research findings generated over here. research and development, and the manufacture of products. Swansea, in seeking to intervene through essentially the building of a state-of-the-art second campus which houses our engineering school, our management school, our computational science facility, our corporate lawyers, sought to co-locate the university with industry. So we occupy the same space as our industrial partners on the new campus that's been opened since September 2015. You see what you'd expect to see in a university: students, faculty, laboratories, postgraduates, but you also see Rolls-Royce, Tata Steel, we hope that that continues, British Aerospace, Airbus, co-located, but not only co-located, working together, hybrid sub-institutions built within it, so that the domains of industry and university meet and coalesce in the middle. You still have the traditional university objectives. You still have industry doing what industry is best doing. In the middle, you have an area that's we're calling applied research that has at its core the collaboration on a day-to-day basis with industry. And as we'll see later on, for instance, we have a joint facility with Rolls-Royce that has Rolls-Royce R&D employees and our key researchers working on research projects, applying for not just Rolls-Royce money, but research grants from our research councils, and moving across what used to be boundaries, maybe permeable, but now move across a boundaryless area. And I reflected as I was preparing to come here yesterday that I was driven to the airport in a car produced by a car manufacturer that used steel, specialist steel, made in Port Talbot, 10 miles from Swansea, using coatings developed in Swansea University by Swansea University and Tata. I got on a plane where both the navigational and general in-flight software was developed by our software engineers. I'll go back this evening, and after a little sojourn in Edinburgh, I'll fly to Boston on Monday in an aeroplane that's manufactured by Boeing, but whose engines were developed in Swansea University by Rolls-Royce and Swansea University engineers. And this co-location model feeds into highly developed, more efficient, more profitable manufacture. What we are aspiring to is to move from the position of traditional 20th century universities in relation to its engagement with business and industry, where you had awareness of industry. You always had industry coming into you to recruit students, graduates, and to interview there. Often involvement between the two domains. And we hope that that where we've moved to, and I think that the date there is suggestive of this, is holistic engagement, where we and industry regard each other as strategic partners. And this is the story I was referring to earlier, the scale of the productivity challenge that our intervention is intended in the South West Wales region to address. Here's the graph of GVA per employee in hundreds of thousands between 1981 and 2011 for the UK. Here's the Welsh line. Here is the South West Wales line. Our solution, as I've suggested, is collaboration with industry, and our key partners, that's industry that has an integral stake in the university, and the university has an integral stake with them, ranges from Airbus and Rolls-Royce over here through the pharmaceutical industry and the health industry. We are just developing a regional consortium for health that seeks for the first time not only to make research inform practice, but draws both the private and the public sector into a previously solely public sector funded health system through the financial services, and a nod to Santander. We, like some of you, are a Santander university, something that we are both proud and grateful for. And oil and an automotive manufacturer. Three particular examples. I suppose the first one needs to be said with fingers crossed, and that is a joint research and development activity with Tata Steel. We very much hope that that will survive in its present form, because we hope that Tata will remain within the UK. But even if it doesn't, it will survive in relation to a European steel industry, and this is a research facility, research and development facility, which has developed technologies that make it possible for each building to be its own power station. So use both new generation, impossibly thin steel, and electronic coating to move on from solar power development, but to have a situation where buildings both store energy from the sun, retain it in storage within the buildings, but also contribute to the general grid. We have a facility called Smart with Rolls-Royce that seeks to remain ahead of the curve in the development of generation after generation of jet engines. And we have a relatively new Energy Safety Research Institute, which is a collaboration with BP and Tata, which looks at, although it has this good word safety in it, it actually looks at novel means of extracting energy we have managed to acquire two world leaders from the USA to lead this institute. We think that we are on the cusp of being able to commercialise political will allowing waterless fracking, and Wales sits on a veritable Klondike of shale gas, and so this could be both an economic and political game changer as well. So here we have a pictorial presentation of the relationship between Rolls-Royce and the university in the Swansea Materials Research and Testing Facility, working with the Institute for Structural Materials in Swansea, and as you can see, there's a shared director, and these two subsets function as one activity. There is the relationships that sit at the heart of the Swansea University-led specific partnership. Every building as a power station. And here are some pictures of the state-of-the-art equipment within the specific research facilities. So here you see, as it were, the chain going from our materials and other engineers in the university, cooperating in specific, feeding into UK manufacturing and the global market. We also have a Centre for Innovation in Manufacturing, and that's drawn in as partners the University of Cambridge, Imperial College, Manchester, and our particular contribution to that is from our Welsh Centre for Printing and Coating, that provides not only new and durable coating for automobiles, but also coatings for military vehicles that attracted the attention, amongst others, of the Pentagon. There's innovation in materials. This is the Rolls-Royce and the university through the centres I referred to, and through the university's technology centre. There's a spin-out company, which was on the previous slide, with a turnover of £1 million. And there are supply chain links with national and international companies. Innovation in design, there you are, that's where I am, not in an A380, but I have flown it. It's a wonderful machine, and I sit and listen to the silence as I'm on this aeroplane, and think warm thoughts about my institution. This is the vanity end. This picture here of our involvement with industry, with Rolls-Royce. We have built, as we built the previous one, we have built the most recent contender to push the world land speed record beyond 1,000 miles per hour. Both engine design and chassis design in Swansea, and through our Institutes of Life Science, we have innovation in medical devices through our computer science department, our computational foundry, development in computational software, generally in the areas of attempts to make either the quality of life better or to increase GDP. The results of that, Wales in the last 10 years has spun out 40% more startups even than Scotland, that have been the brand leader. Of these, 86% were spun out of Swansea, very largely stimulated by our co-location model. And in the College of Engineering, within the last 5 years, 32 patents have been submitted and 21 spin-out companies created. And here's a selection of those startup countries. As you can see, they range from energy capture through diagnostic and therapeutic tests, the Internet of Things, and ways of developing models for therapeutic intervention. The university also provides other business support, access to students to placements and recruitment, skills and training initiatives, research and development support, access to state-of-the-art equipment, advice on commercialization of ideas and licensing. So that's not only to our faculty, but to our students, and particularly to our postgraduate students, and local, regional and national networks and partnerships. And that's particularly my area. So if we look at the last 100 years, in 1920 the university starts on land that originally had an abionic, which is now the University Central Administration, so monks of or nuns of a different sort. By 1937 it had the massive number of students that you can see there, 672, and had its first library. In the 1960s it developed as a campus university under its then principal John Fulton, who'd spent time in the USA and came back and tried to model Swansea on what he'd seen. In the last years of the 20th century, building after building after building in the old campus. This year is a theatre, this year is one of our life science buildings. And then, in 2015, a dual campus university. Phase 1 is open. Phase 2, which involves using further land to the west of our current campus, will be completed by 2020. This slide indicates the impact, or some of the impact of that Bay campus on regional economic development. I should say I have, I mean you have, but I have a memory stick with these here, so I'll make this available when I go. I suppose the general context in which you need to understand these figures is that in terms of outcomes, that we know that the direct impact of building this second campus and operating it is over a period of 10 years to create a £3 billion injection, additional injection into the regional economy, and to create in excess of 12,000 new jobs. That's significant by any measure, and it points to the fact that that the university is not only co-located with and working with business, it is a business itself, and a business of some size. In the region, we are the second biggest employer behind the National Health Service, which is a gargantuan juggernaut of an employer. And it's also part of a story of how universities have changed over the past 20 years. And Swansea probably at the leading edge of that move, from bastions of knowledge and knowledge transfer through teaching and learning to become engines of economic growth. This slide shows a number of things that, in terms of the building of the site itself of the university, there's an employment impact, an additional 7,500 people employed over the last 3 years on the site. Incidentally, the first phase was built in just over 2 years, unknown speed. It came in on date and on budget. It's provided upskilling opportunities within local employment. It's made possible by a total investment of £450 million from the private sector and the public sector. Sorry, I'm running over. I've nearly finished. And I'll leave it there, I think. Okay. I had a video, but I won't show it you. 3 minutes.
3 minutes, okay.
If it works. No sound. We seem to have lost the sound, but so this is from a drone camera in February of this year. This is the new School of Management. It's a great hall that was paid for as part of BP's gilt money. The campus is built on ex-BP land. It is our College of Engineering, low-level buildings with ease of movement of equipment in and out. Over here, new student accommodation. A Bay Campus library where silence is unnecessary. And student accommodation managed by our partners, the biggest economic development company in the UK, St Modwin. And as you can see, the building continues. What a wonderful environment to see on one side, the mountains on the other. Sorry.
Thank you very much.